I always try to vouch for video game preservation simply because we've had almost 30, 40 years of video games, and especially for, new people jumping, a new generation of gamers who are ever curious about looking back at classic games, older games before their time. It's really hard to find access to those games in today's platforms. And most of the time you can go on PC, you can of course do emulation, but from the publishers who make those games, they have kind of struggled to find a balance of trying to bring back an entire catalog of their games from the past to modern audience. And of course, there's all sorts of complexities that come with it, especially, licenses, especially because a lot of these games are made by studios that no longer exist. So, there's multiple publishers, multiple studios, ownership is all over the place. And so it becomes really hard to provide those retro games of the past to the modern audience. But that doesn't mean they could at least try, because whenever they do, they end up creating all these extra paywalls to it. Nintendo is a great example of bringing a subscription to play older games, but at a hefty price. Yeah. And then we have PlayStation with their access to PlayStation 3 and even PlayStation 1 games, PS2 games as well. But you have to be subscribed to their most expensive subscription, the PS Plus Premium, to even have the privilege to play those games. Unfortunately, right? But here's Microsoft now, who've just announced their own catalog of retro classics that are going to be coming to their subscription service, the Game Pass. And honestly, I think this is the best one yet, simply because you don't have to pay an extra cost. If you're already subscribed to Game Pass, you just get access to this. You don't have to pay another higher tier to get your hands on this. So this is really great. So in collaboration with Antstream Arcade, Microsoft is bringing over 50 classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s to Game Pass, allowing subscribers to play iconic titles like Pitfall, Commando, MechWarrior 2, and Kaboom, and so much more. This is 50 games. I'm not going to go through that list, but these are games that have really defined the early days of video gaming. And not only does this initiative allow players to dive back into the nostalgic favorites, but it also includes the ability to save progress and continue later, which of course is a feature that did not exist in those games. And the Retro Classics collection will be available to all Game Pass subscribers, regardless of which tier of subscription they hold. And it supports various platforms, including consoles, PC, and cloud gaming. How amazing is this? How amazing is this? Compared to the PS Plus Premium, right, where you have to pay above average the price, and you only have a minimal catalog of classic games. Whereas Xbox Game Pass, you can have the cheapest tier and you still have access to this. You get more value for your buck compared to what you would spend on PS Plus. And like they said, it's on PC, it's on console, and it's on cloud. Whereas PlayStation's retro catalog is only on PlayStation. This is something that I've complained about numerous times. Why is the PS Plus service not provided to the PC platform? Why is it so exclusively held back only to be on the PlayStation platform? I get that it's some way of them controlling the market in a way. Of course, they feel if they provided that service to PC, then people won't go buy a PlayStation console and just use that service alone. But still, we have come to a point now, I feel like this is the new generation of gaming, where accessibility is more important than exclusivity. And it's just gonna hurt PlayStation's reputation. This move really fits, like I said, Microsoft's broader vision of game preservation and a backwards compatibility, which something PlayStation still is not all that great in. And it offers an accessible way for players to experience classic titles that might otherwise be lost to time. Over the next few months, even more games will be added to the collection, expanding it to 100 games and more. Microsoft has made it very clear that this initiative is an ongoing one. And it's also worth noting that these Retro Classic Collection is available not only on the Xbox ecosystem, but even, how crazy is that, includes a PlayStation section showcasing games like MechWarrior 2, demonstrating the effort to unite gaming community through nostalgia. This is actually a great initiative from Microsoft. I'm someone who has lived my whole life playing PlayStation. I've always vouched for them, but I think I had a turning point, honestly. I think especially when I built my own PC and I switched to playing purely on PC, I started to look at them at a more objective manner and realized that there's just a lot of things that they are not doing compared to their competitors. And I do this as an advice. PlayStation, you need to up your game, especially when you see initiatives like this coming out of Microsoft, or because you're just gonna fall behind. I say this also for Nintendo, but then again, I feel Nintendo doesn't really compete again, with the other big boys. They're just kind of doing their own thing because they have the loyalty of their fan base is so zealous, it's so passionate, it's so strong that they don't need to make those drastic changes themselves. But it is PlayStation that I feel again is falling behind when it comes to just providing a more accessible game catalog at a much better value compared to their competitor. And if they don't do this, they're just gonna suffer. This is how I see it. And this is why I have to tell people, if you're gonna pick a subscription, especially a gaming one, go for the Game Pass. It's a lot better compared to what PlayStation offers. I think it's about 100 plus games. Microsoft provides over 300 plus, and that's going to go up to 400, 500 in the near future. I'm not even exaggerating at this point. It's great for players who honestly, especially if you're someone who wants to play a lot of games, but just can't be buying games at full price, the $60, $70 price tag. I can't even do that all the time. Game Pass is a great solution for this, and it's one I advise you to check out. But you guys let me know, what are some classic Activision retro games you're going to be checking out? I know I'm going to go through it myself, and I'm going to find a personal favorite. I'll definitely try it, even live stream it if I can. So I'm excited for that. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment right here on The Evening Buzz. Stay tuned.